The Todd Shapiro Show, Canada Laughs, SiriusXM 168.
Hey, Adam Greenblatt is on the phone. Adam, how you doing, bud?
What's up? Hey, doing great.
Good, man. Good. Nice to talk to you, the Quebec brand manager of Canopy Growth and Tweed Main Street. And we catch up with you from time to time as we get closer towards legalization and sort of everything that's going on in the entire market, and Canada being really leaders of it, which is quite amazing. How are things been with you since we last? How was your New Year?
Oh, it was fantastic. I took some holiday time, checked out Belize. I tried scuba diving. It was pretty rad.
Nice.
Rad.
That's
a lot better than my New Year. Adam, it's Peter Anthony here. I actually had to work New Year's Eve, so I shouldn't. I had to do a show in Halifax, but I shouldn't complain. It was a fun crowd and a good time. But Belize would have been a lot nicer.
I won't rub it in for you.
That's what she said. Anyway, sorry. It is a comedy show. I have to say the odd joke, right?
Adam's a gem. So Adam,
I'll take that opportunity to just plug for you, which is our cannabis oil for sexual enhancement.
Hey,
there he is, Greenblatt in the house.
I like it.
Thanks, bud. We'll give you a little commission fee after.
Yeah.
Hey, so, as we head now into 2018 and we're getting closer and closer and closer to what sort of seems to be inevitable, although you never really know. Where's your head positioned at heading towards 2018? Like, sort of, what are you kind of projecting when it comes to specifically the legalization of marijuana?
I mean, it's going to be rad. I mean, we're really hustling over at Canopy. People have been. It's 2018 now. We've been talking about legalization in 2018. Well, now it's 2018.
Yeah.
And now we're getting all of our ducks in a row to, supply provinces with cannabis. We're looking at signing supply deals with all the provinces as they roll out their distribution systems, right? We're looking at like maybe a mixed model in BC. We're looking at the private sales in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. We're looking at like the LCBO and the SAQ controlling things in Ontario and Quebec. So we're getting ready to sign some big supply deals. And at the same time, we're just like expanding like crazy. So in fact, I'm out here in BC right now in Vancouver for the Lift Expo. And just yesterday we were visiting our million square foot greenhouse that we've got going on here that's going to be producing cannabis for the BC market. It's just really the plan is to grow as much as we can in all senses of the word.
Is it true, Adam, that everything I've read is that the licensed producers are not going to be able to grow enough for the Canadian marketplace? Is that true, or is that over-exaggerated?
I think it's exaggerated. I mean, like, there's going to be hiccups and probably some supply hiccups along the way. But the reality is that Health Canada has gotten a lot more efficient and faster at approving new producers and getting more production online. At the same time as, companies like ours are in the process of doing massive expansion. So, growing pains are to be expected, but I don't think we're going to be running out of weed on July 1st.
And is it going to be, speaking of those growing pains, is it difficult from province to province to province with all those sort of different rules in place? Is that something that might be sort of the biggest hurdles into how to kind of make sure that everything is done, obviously, by the law, no doubt, but also the fact that you got to have, like, people in every single province? Like, how is that for a big company?
It's challenging. We've got government relations people who are fantastic at handling our government stakeholders and sort of navigating us through the different waters in each province, right? Because it is going to look different in every province, but I mean it's worth it. We're known for our management skills. We've got a great management team, and they're helping us navigate those treacherous waters. Each province is really different. In Quebec, we're looking at a quite strict regulatory model where the SAQ, which is our LCBO, is going to create a nonprofit subsidiary to handle cannabis sales. We won't be. It looks like merchandise with cannabis brands even won't be allowed in Quebec, whereas you will likely see something a little bit more open in places like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, BC, certainly. So getting ready for each of those markets entails different things.
I know where I grew up. I'm Nova Scotian, and they came out with their plan. They just said, throw it in the back of the liquor store. I love that. They're like, clear a shelf, clear some of the tequila out of the way, stick it around the shelf, and the boys will grab their dope then. Like there was no. I always looked at it as, this is a huge opportunity for a brand new bunch of entrepreneurs to create brand new businesses, and it would be exciting and young and fresh and new. And to me, putting it in liquor stores, I don't know how you feel about it, Adam, but I think it's the wrong choice. And I also think not being able to brand it like they allow alcohol to be branded, I think that's the wrong choice. And I hope over time that all of those things get more lenient, and then, eventually it won't be as, quote, big of a deal that weed is legal,
Yeah. I mean, the liquor store thing is definitely ripe with controversy. I have an issue with it too, but only if it's the exclusive option, right? If I can only get my weed in the liquor store, I think that is short-sighted. From the government's perspective, the way I see it is it's also the path of least resistance. We're talking about regulators who may not be familiar with cannabis or all of these nuances, and they think that just sticking it in the liquor store is the easiest thing for them to do in the meantime. But if that's the only option for cannabis sales, that's where I think it becomes problematic. I think, there's a similar push in BC to have liquor stores distribute cannabis, but the key differentiator there is that it won't be the only option. You'll be able to go to a private dispensary, a government-run dispensary, and then you may also be able to buy it on the shelf in the liquor store, which in that context I don't see as problematic.
So Adam Greenblatt joins us, the Quebec brand manager of Canopy Growth Tweed Main Street. What's the buzz right now going on at the Lift Expo, the Lift Cannabis Expo in Vancouver there? Because I know I asked a question first, and now I have a statement, which is not the way you should do radio interviews. But I think over the last few years, and I've been in a bunch of these, it was kind of like. It was the buzz was sort of like, okay, we're all kind of being speculative still. We're projecting. We're cautious, but now we're getting closer. So is the energy at a higher peak than it's ever been?
I'd say generally that's true for the whole sector, for sure. I mean, this sector is buzzing all the time. I mean, the Lift Expo for us is just a great opportunity for us to showcase all the awesome things that we're doing as Canopy Growth. I think particularly there may be some blindness to that in the BC market because you have quite an entrenched cannabis industry here already, and sometimes we're perceived as the big bad corporation that's coming in to take everything over when that couldn't be further from the truth. So for us, it's just a great opportunity to be here and to show people what we're doing in craft grow, what we're doing with micro cultivation licenses. We put $1 million aside to invest in this new class of micro cultivators. And also, just to showcase the professionalism of the industry and to showcase how mature the cannabis sector actually is and how promising it really is. It's great. This is really important.
Adam, how concerned are you? You look at the stock market for the weed sector in the last couple of days. How concerned are you guys with that? Are you watching that on a daily basis? Or are you just is it in the back of your mind? I know everything seems to move together. It's like all these companies are different, yet they all move together. It's very strange to watch, and I know there's a lot of new money in it, so there's probably a lot of panicky, afraid investors. What do you feel about that whole thing?
Yeah, I try not to pay it too much mind. Basically, my view of that is that the excitement in the cannabis stocks is really just reflective of the excitement out there for legalization, right? I mean, it's not. This is something that a lot of people have been waiting their whole lives for, this legalization, right? It's a product also that is already super popular. Millions of Canadians already consume, and so we're not talking about a bunch of startups with an unproven widget that they need to popularize. We're talking about cannabis, which millions of people in Canada and around the world already consume.
Yep, and it's tangible, and it's something you can use, and it's people are growing it, and people are going to be selling it, and it's so. I mean, stock market aside, whatever. The whole idea of it to me is exactly that. It's just exciting. It's just nice to know that Canada is the forefront of it for an entire nation. And you know, I read a great article, and actually Peter retweeted it because I tweeted a couple days ago about Sessions in the U.S. and you know, the sort of like the dinosaur attitude of A, the stigma behind it, but B, not even thinking about the tax dollars it will create, the jobs it will create. You know, a whole new industry growing, hopefully globally, is gonna tremendously help this world. Also help it in terms of, and I'm medically licensed now, and you know, I'm using a Tweed Main Street product, but which is completely helping my anxiety, and I know that because I haven't even used it in the last 2 days, and I've been losing it again. Is that you know, you think of things like the opioid crisis, and like there's just so many positive things to this, and that's why when I started the show 4 years ago, I started talking about this early on because I projected. Speaking of projection, I projected where it would be and how good it was for, and I wasn't even an advocate of using marijuana then because I didn't really know about the medical benefits. I was just saying this industry as a whole, because I know it's helping people, is a good thing. So, I mean, I think
that speaks to the excitement that you see in the stock market, right? Like, this is an industry that, like, people believe in. We know that cannabis legalization is going to make the world a better place. Like, not only are we going to create jobs and like create this like multi-billion-dollar industry that contributes to our economy, like, we're going to stop arresting people for this stuff. We're going to stop locking people up and stigmatizing them and ruining their fucking lives.
Absolutely.
Over a plant that everyone, you know, enjoys, and for whom it's also a medical therapy and improves their quality of life in that respect. So I think what's been fascinating for me about the stock market too is just the way that it has democratized that. You know, like, the cannabis space is now a place that really anybody can put their money where their mouth is when it comes to their support for cannabis law reform, and that is, I think, also reflected in the in the volatility of the market.
Yeah, it's definitely volatile. It's big swings, but I'm so excited, and just everything you just said. You know what? Locking people up in 2018 for smoking a plant and not bugging anyone or doing anything wrong is ridiculous.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah. It's just it's so
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Are wise to that now. When Jeff Sessions comes out, is like, no, like, marijuana. Did you see what the guy in Kansas said? There was like a senator in Kansas, just like, oh my goodness, he said something to the effect of like, we banned cannabis back in the day because like African Americans are like genetically predisposed.
Oh my God.
It was just
the
like
whole reefer madness fucking bullshit. Wow. He bought into that stereotype. That's unbelievable.
Oh my God. It was just outrageous. And the fact that this kind of mentality like still exists now, it speaks to the work that still needs to be done. But when you see the reaction to it, you know, it also speaks to the progress that's been made, because nobody buys that anymore. You know, nobody believes really anymore, like, you know, cannabis is going to ruin your life and lead to a life of crime and destitution and hard drugs and what have you. Yeah.
Well, and what do you think? I mean, over time will happen in the States. And the reason why I say this is because I also read another great article in the Post, which was just basically saying, you know, Sessions doing this is probably the best thing possible for the Democrats, because a Democratic potential candidate for presidency might actually get behind legalizing it there in America if you really want to take over those votes.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I would hope that this makes it an election issue for the next, for the Democrats' next election. Like, it's, you know, legalizing cannabis at the federal level, and just like more generally reforming our drug policies, because arresting people for drugs generally is wrong. It's not just cannabis. You know, cannabis really represents the injustice of the drug war, but like locking people up for drugs generally is a shitty thing to do that doesn't work. And hopefully cannabis legalization is kind of a wedge into greater reform. But hopefully this whole Jeff Sessions thing turns it into a serious issue for the Democrats, and they take an election platform, an election campaign platform, right?
Hey, but at least all this quagmire in the U.S. gives the Canadian companies like yours a huge head start globally, where you don't have to compete against behemoth companies from America. It's like we can rule the world. This can be our thing. The same way, you know, the same way wine is for France and you name it. Like, take a country.
I believe that. No, Canada. You're right.
We're going to be the weed nation. It's amazing.
Oh man, we're on the world stage. The whole globe, the whole planet is looking at the way Canada is legalizing cannabis, and they are taking note. You know, Canadian cannabis legalization is like a major domino in, you know, the failing war on drugs, which is a global phenomenon. You know, we're seeing more and more jurisdictions, more and more countries medicalizing cannabis, moving towards decriminalization or even full legalization. Like, it's unstoppable at this point. And when Canada does it, you know, it's going to be huge. California just did it. You know, California is now recreationally.
Vermont did it too this week, and you saw
Vermont's on their way. Yeah,
New York, New Jersey's going. New York just had legislation read and a conference with stakeholders that are petitioning the government to say, let's get on board. You know what I mean? Once New York and California go, that's it, man. That's it right there. The rest of America has to follow.
Texas, personally, like, I can't wait to see legalization in Texas. I think that
totally.
I think having it happen in New York and California is kind of given, but like Texas will be.
They should do trade in your guns and you get a gram kind of program or something.
Yeah. Totally.
Adam, well, listen, man, I love these updates, and it is so exciting. And you know what? Let's talk next week. I want to find out how the Lift Cannabis Expo went, and what I want to find out from is the types of people that went there. Were there more sort of institutions? Were there more people from across the globe going there? I know you're on the West Coast. Maybe, you know, a bunch of West Coasters are there. In terms of, like, not only just you know, those who believe in it and are big supporters and want to end the stigma completely, but what are kind of like the Jeff Sessions types? Are they starting to show up to go, okay, hang on a second, let's learn about this from the leaders, and you being one of them? Adam Greenblatt, thank you so much.
If I run into Stephen Harper, I'll let you guys know.
Please do. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate your time.
All right, cheers.
Thanks, Adam.
At Adam_Greenblatt. Go and check him out. The Quebec brand manager of cannabis growth and a very educated guy.
The Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs. SiriusXM 168.